Good evening, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. I'm your host, Peg. Today is a big book haul that I've been promising for quite some time, and I've got some good news for you. As soon as I got the email, first thing this morning, my eyes bugged out of my head, and I said, I've got to make this video because remember a while ago, guys, I said I went on a little bit of a book buying spree because Book Outlet was having their $5.99 fiction sale, like everything, hardcover, paperbacks, $5.99. Well, I'm finally here to film some of that. I still have a smaller box downstairs. This is going to take most of this video. It's going to be a long one, I'm sure. But yeah, guess what, guys? Guess what? The sale is on right now. So if there's any fiction here that you're really liking and you don't mind the $5.99 price tag, head on over to Book Outlet. I'm not sure how long it's going to last. Let's see. It's always like a limited time. Let me see if it gives me an end date here. Of course, I'm already browsing again. Oh, shame on me. Let's see here. When is it ending? Okay, you guys have until June 24th for the $5.99 or less fiction sale at Book Outlet. All right, so now that I have done my public service announcement, I just feel like I'm just like totally enabling you guys to go book buying. Hey, there's worse things to spend money on, right? You could go out and buy a case of beer, but you won't feel good the next day. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so this is all fiction. The second box that I got, there's some more fiction in it, but then there was also some nonfiction. So that next video will be a little bit of a mix. But let's just dive in, because I got a ton. As you can see, I've got a big old box right here. And I've been meaning to film for you guys. All right, let's start with this. These are two books by the same author. They sounded intriguing. I've never read anything by this author. And I don't know. I thought I'd give it a try. Plus, this one was way marked down. We're talking like $1.99. Is this? Wait a second. I'm already doubting myself. No, I already did my Hamilton book haul. Okay, so this was separate. This is Book Outlet. Okay, first book we've got here is called Back to the Dirt, a novel by Frank Bill. And it says here, Miles is a Vietnam veteran who's worried he's going to lose his job, and with it his tenuous grasp on a stable life over a fight with a coworker. His PTSD and struggles to control his steroid-fueled violent tendencies also complicate his relationship with his girlfriend, Shelby, a stripper who only occasionally displays the proverbial heart of gold. She's certainly kinder and more generous than her brother Wiley, who has been implicated in the deaths of two local oxy dealers and is currently on the run. When Wiley kidnaps Shelby and holes up in Miles's country lair, it all threatens to become a bit too much for Miles. As Frank Bill peels back the layers of Miles's history, going deep into his memories of the Vietnam War, and that's what attracted me to this story. Back to the Dirt gets to the root of the traumas that have caused Miles and his community so much adversity. In this blistering novel, Bill reaches for the core values, living close to the land, working with your hands, that have been obscured by generations of neglect, drug abuse, and desperation. This is a profound and important story of an America that is only beginning to get its due attention, and Frank Bill is its most visceral, essential chronicler. Okay, so that's the one that really jumped out at me. And then I discovered there's another book by Frank Bill. It's also $5.99. And I believe this was like what are they calling this? I don't think it's a straight sequel. I forgot where I read that it might be. Anyway, by Frank Bill, this is The Savage. Let's see here. Yeah, these are different characters. Let me see here. Okay, the dollar has failed, the grid is wiped out, Walmarts are looted, and homes are abandoned as common folk flee and bloodthirsty militias fight for power. In a 21st century America gone haywire, a Darwinian struggle for survival is the law of the land. Van Dorn, 18 and running solo, was raised by his father in the old ways. There's Daisy. To value self-reliance and righteousness. Determined to seek justice, he fights through a litany of horrors to save those captured by Koto, a savage, drug-crazed warlord who has risen among the roving gangs, gaining territory while enslaving women and children. As destinies collide and survival becomes an increasingly distant fantasy, battling ideals of right and wrong come to an explosive head. So let's see here. Frank Bill presents an unnerving vision of a fractured America gone terribly wrong. In a study of what happens when the last systems of morality in society collapse. Well, we're getting pretty damn close to that. So, yeah, the savage. Yes. How about them apples? I'm about 25-minute drive away from Boulder. If you guys have watched the news lately. I've been on Pearl Street, and I know it's just nuts. Nuts. All right, so I've heard good things about this novel. I meant to get it last time, and I didn't, but it came back around again. And I got this beautiful Harper Perennial Modern Classics soft cover of a very long novel, like 750 pages. And it is Jaroslav Hasek's The Good Soldier Svejk. See, nice big thing. $5.99. All I have is the remainder mark. Brand new. $5.99. Let's see here. Hailed as perhaps the funniest novel ever written, Jaroslav Hasek's The Good Soldier Svejk follows the adventures of Josef Svejk, a boisterous and sometimes bumbling or brilliantly subversive Czech soldier as he navigates the trials of World War I. Thrust into the Austro-Hungarian Empire's army in 1914, Svejk, one of the great characters of 20th century literature, embarks on a wild trip through war-ravaged Europe as he fakes illnesses, is captured by his own men, and takes on various quixotic quests to avoid arriving at the front lines, as always with a bizarre and often hilarious anecdote at the ready. Predating countercultural American classics like Catch-22 by a generation, The Good Soldier Svejk was the first great anti-war satire, and still one of the finest ever written. And in this edition, there are tons of the cartoons. Look at this. Look at this. $5.99, guys. Now, I don't know if it's still available, because sometimes with these sales, they'll say like low stock, and you click on the book and it'll say there's one copy left. So you sometimes have to just jump on these things immediately. So look at that. Gosh, richly illustrated. So I'm glad to add this to my fiction closet. I got a fiction closet in this room in my office. That's where I keep the fiction. All right, we're going to just keep going down the stack here. This is a guy I have in the past dabbled in. I don't remember much of his work. I don't think I read too much of it, but I wanted to give him a try again. And this is Frank Peretti, and this is The Visitation. This is put out by Thomas Nelson Books. So he writes with kind of a Christian, foundation. He writes a lot of like Christian thrillers and horror. Actually, I think he's written some scary stuff. So this nice thick book, The Visitation. So I thought I'd pick this up for cheap. The sleepy eastern Washington wheat town of Antioch has become a gateway for the supernatural, from sightings of angels and a weeping crucifix to a self-proclaimed prophet with an astounding message. The national media and the curious all flock to the little town. A great boon for local business, but not for Travis Jordan. The burned-out former pastor has been trying to hide his past in Antioch. Now the whole world is headed to his backyard to find the Messiah, and in the process, every spiritual assumption he has ever held will be challenged. The startling secret behind this visitation ultimately pushes one man into a supernatural confrontation that has eternal consequences. Yes, I think the book I tried to read, I don't even remember the title. I know he's most known for this Present Darkness, but he's got some other titles there. But yeah, I just wanted to check it out. I was just like, you know what? Let's go. Let's give it a go. All right. Oh, and so this book, yes. So this author I've been meaning to read. As you know, I enjoy good mysteries and stuff on this channel, and stuff. It's been a long work day. What can I say? And this is one like detective series I just never tried, but I keep meaning to. Well, I mean this author. Okay, this is a different series she has written, but I'll get back to that. This is Dana Stabenow, and this one's called Fire and Ice, and this is a Liam Campbell novel. So this is a shorter series that she's recently started writing, and this is the first in that series. So I always have to start with the first. I don't like to really jump into a series midway. So the Liam Campbell novels, she's got 5 of them. Now, she's mostly known for the Kate Shugak series, and those are like, almost 20 books now. But I just noticed when I was on the site today for Book Outlet that, yeah, they have the first Kate Shugak mystery on sale for $5.99 paperback, and it's A Cold Day for Murder. So I might pick that one up. But yeah, Liam Campbell. You know, I like mysteries, and I loved True Detective Night Country, just because I love things that are set like near the Arctic, like just isolated, formidable, cold. I don't know what it is about cold places, but it really attracts my attention. Let's see here. This is the end of the line for Alaska State Trooper Liam Campbell. Newenham is the last police outpost in the United States before you hit Siberia, and it's Campbell's last shot at getting his life back on track. It's an icebound fishing town with a 6-bed jail, a broken-down ATM, and a saloon that does double duty as a courtroom. It's a wide enough patch to warrant a state police presence, though, and Trooper Liam Campbell is it. He's been sent there in disgrace, busted down from sergeant to trooper in the aftermath of a mistake that cost a family of 5 their lives. Ouch. Wow. Campbell never expected his new job to be simple, but finding his ex-lover crouched over a headless body on the tarmac is a hell of a way to get off the plane. Well, I'll say. So yeah, I wanted to start this series and see if it grabs me. So pick that one up as well. All right. I've been collecting this writer's work, and this one looked interesting as well. This is Mark Helprin. This is Memoir from Ant-Proof Case, a novel. It's a very interesting title, very enigmatic. All right. Memoir from Ant-Proof Case. An old American sits in a mountain garden in Brazil writing his memoirs. As he reminisces and writes, placing the pages carefully in his ant-proof case, we learn that he was a World War II ace who was shot down twice, an investment banker who met with popes and presidents, and a man who was never not in love. He was the thief of the century, a murderer and a protector of the innocent. And all his life he waged a valiant, losing one-man battle against the world's most insidious enslaver, coffee. Oh, man. And that explains the cover. Oh, my goodness. In this novel, Mark Helprin's astounding prose combines adventure, satire, flights of transcendence, and high comedy in a memoir of a man whose life reads like the song of the 20th century. So, yeah. I was like, let me just pick this up to go with my other Mark Helprins, and I'll get around to it at some point. But there you go. Okay, and I had to get these two. I've already read them ages ago, but these are like 2 reprints that I really wanted in a Forge paperback edition. And this is where I kind of stalled on this series, and I keep meaning to go back and pick it up again, and I have most of the books except for the more recent ones, and it's Preston and Child. But it all started with Relic, which I just thought was a fantastic story. Loved it. And I love these new Forge paperback softcover reprints, because I think the ones I have are like really old, smelly ex-library copies, probably hardcover and just falling apart. So I'd like to reread these at some point. So they just had these first two, but and maybe Tor is the main publisher for Forge. Maybe they're going to release the rest of them in new paperback editions. That would be fantastic. I don't need to read the. I mean, this is a fairly well-known story, and it's the first novel in the Pendergast series, and Pendergast is the FBI agent. I'll just say this real quick. Just days before a massive expedition opens at the popular New York Museum of Natural History, visitors are being savagely murdered in the museum's dark hallways and secret rooms. Autopsies indicate that the killer cannot be human, but the museum's directors plan to go ahead with a big bash to celebrate the new exhibition in spite of the murders. Museum researcher Margot Green must find out who or what is doing the killing, but can she do it in time to stop the massacre? I really liked Margot Green as a character, and I was pleased when she showed up in a couple of the other books a little further down the line, but yeah, I like how they have returning characters. Like the cop, what was the cop's name? He became good friends with Pendergast. What is his name? And of course the movie, it took some liberties. Oh, D'Augusta. Yeah, Detective D'Augusta. Loved it. I'm going to reread this at some point. I really enjoyed Relic. And then the sequel to that, which I also enjoyed and they have available, is Reliquary. Sorry for the glare. Reliquary, the second novel in the Pendergast series. So I really like these Forge editions. Yep. And it brings back Margot Green into this one. Also a police lieutenant, D'Augusta. And so it's like those three. Yeah. This one goes into the sewers underneath Manhattan. So it's just, they're fun. They're fun books. They're not meant to be highbrow. They're meant to just let you escape for a while from the world. And I always thought Preston and Child did a great job with these. Now, I don't know. I kind of started losing the thread when they brought in like his memories of his first wife. Of his wife, Pendergast's wife. I think it was in Cold Fever or Fever Dream, and then they went into like his crazy brother, Aloysius, and they do mix in some supernatural stuff at points, but and then I like how they branched off into doing like Nora Kelly novels. And I have those, and I still need to get around to those. But I think I read the first one. Anyway, they've written a lot, but these two are by far their best that I've read so far of the Pendergast novels. Really enjoyed these. All right, so who knows? You might, if you enjoy this and you like these editions, head on over to Book Outlet. $5.99. All right, what else do I have? Oh, yes, I wanted to show you guys this one. This is like a nice, big, meaty historical fiction novel. I got this guy's other book. I bought it at Target. And it was called, hang on a second. Yeah, it's right over there. Okay, Foregone. And I never heard of this novel. You'd think I would have known about it at some point. It came out in 1998. Yeah, it missed me somewhere. This is Russell Banks. Nice big fat novel called Cloud Splitter. Cloud Spitter. Cloud Splitter. It's an editor's choice for New York Times Book Review. Now look at this. Look how big. Whoop. It's a big, meaty novel, guys. And what's it about, you ask? I shall tell you. Let me get my glasses on. Okay. A triumph of the imagination and a masterpiece of modern storytelling. Cloud Splitter is narrated by the enigmatic Owen Brown, last surviving son of America's most famous and still controversial political terrorist and martyr, John Brown. Right? Civil War times. Deeply researched, brilliantly plotted, and peopled with a cast of unforgettable characters, both historical and wholly invented, Cloud Splitter is dazzling in its recreation of the political and social landscape of our history during the years before the Civil War, when slavery was tearing the country apart. But within this broader scope, Russell Banks has given us a riveting, suspenseful, heartbreaking narrative filled with intimate scenes of domestic life, of violence and action and battle, of romance and familial life and death that make the reader feel in astonishing ways what it was like to be alive in that time. And that's what writers are supposed to do. That's why they write, right? They are supposed to transport us and to make us and to help us. And I guess that's why we read, right? We want to go back to a time, and even not even in fiction, just reading history. We want to go back to that time. We want to feel like we're in that time. Just for even those few moments that we're turning the pages, we're kind of not here, we're elsewhere. And so this appealed to me. And for $5.99 for how many pages is this book? 760 odd pages. You can't, that's a great price for a brand new book. It's not used, brand new. So, Cloud Splitter from Russell Banks, guys. Let me get a sip of water. Okay. So I wanted to give this book a try. I've been reading in the past few years a lot of different, I know there's a huge glut of these type of books now, and I'm very discerning. I like to think that I am about which ones are good and which ones are just jumping on the bandwagon. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the spate of ancient history / Greek mythology with a female-centric focus books that have just been, I think Jennifer Saint really is the one that we can thank or blame for kind of starting that. I think it might have started with her, but I don't know. Anyway, there's a ton of women writers now that are just churning out these books, and so far I've only really actually enjoyed Jennifer Saint and one other, Costanza. I think that's her last name. She wrote a brilliant book on Clytemnestra. I loved it. It's fantastic. So, but, this one had some good reviews, and it's about the Trojan War. And I just wanted to try one more author and see what her presentation of Clytemnestra is. And this is Claire Haywood. And so I picked up Daughters of Sparta. When did this one come out? 2021. Okay. As princesses of Sparta, Helen and Clytemnestra have known nothing but luxury and plenty. With their high birth and unrivaled beauty, they are the envy of all of Greece. But such privilege comes at a cost. While still only girls, the sisters are separated and married to foreign kings of their father's choosing, the powerful Agamemnon and his brother Menelaus. Yet even as queens, each is only expected to do two things: birth an heir and embody the meek, demure nature that is expected of women. But when the weight of their husband's neglect, cruelty, and ambition becomes too heavy to bear, Helen and Clytemnestra must push against the constraints of their society to carve new lives for themselves, and in doing so make waves that will ripple throughout the next 3,000 years. So, I mean, if you're steeped in that, you know how it ends for both of them. What is that lady's name? Costanza Casati? I don't know. I liked her presentation of the sisters. Hang on, let me get that book real quick. Okay, here it is. Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. I was pretty close. Really, really liked this one. And she's got a brand new book out about revolving around Babylon. So, and I have that arc, and it is interesting. I think there's like a love triangle going on. I haven't finished it yet, but this one rocked. Loved it. Clytemnestra. So I can recommend that one. So this one, I was curious. I'm like, I really enjoyed the presentation of the sisters in Clytemnestra by Casati, and so I just wanted to see how Claire Haywood would handle the subject matter. So that's why I picked this one up. Plus, it was cheap. All right, next one up. Yes, this one there was only one left of, and I'd never read it, but I've heard good things about it, so I thought I'd give it a try. This is by Irving Stone, and it's Lust for Life. The classic biographical novel of Vincent van Gogh. Yeah, it's an old plume edition, so you can tell it's an older book just from the way it's kind of laid out and the publisher's logo at the top there. Since its initial publication in 1934, Irving Stone's Lust for Life has been a critical success. The most famous of all of Stone's novels, it is the story of Vincent van Gogh, brilliant painter, passionate lover, and alleged madman. Here is his tempestuous story, his dramatic life, his fevered loves for both the highest-born women and the lowest prostitutes, and his paintings, for which he was damned before being proclaimed a genius. The novel takes us from his desperate days in a coal mine in southern Belgium to his dazzling years in the south of France, where he knew the most brilliant artists and the most depraved horrors. Finally, it shows us Van Gogh driven mad, tragic, and triumphant at once. No other novel of a great man's life has so fascinated the American public for generations. So, yeah. It's a class. It was a classic, and it was $6. So I was like, I'm going to get it. Here's another classic, and I want to read this one sooner rather than later. And this is a restored edition, so maybe it's got some extras in here that the other editions don't. Anyway, it's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize, you guys. And this is Robert Penn Warren's All the King's Men. It says restored edition right there. This is a Mariner book. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, won the Pulitzer in 1947. All the King's Men is one of the most famous and widely read works in American literature and is relevant today as it was 50 years ago. It traces the rise and fall of demagogue Willie Talos, a fictional Southern politician who resembles the real-life Huey Long of Louisiana. Talos begins his career as an idealistic man of the people, but he soon becomes corrupted by success and the lust for power. Now Warren's masterpiece has been fully restored and reintroduced by literary scholar Noel Polk, textual editor of the works of William Faulkner. Polk presents the novel as it was originally written, revealing even greater energy, excitement, complexity, and subtlety of character in this landmark of letters. So I was like, yes, please. Been meaning to get a copy of this, and I'd rather read the restored version or the edition to see how it was originally written. So I'm pretty excited about this one, guys. Yes, indeed. All right, what do we have next here? Oh, I got two books by an author I've read before, but these are kind of a different subject matter for her. I think this is the first one. Okay, so I actually reviewed this author's book, The Deep, for Historical Novels Review, and it was okay. But I wanted to try this one out. So she kind of did a couple of books. And she wrote another book that I have a copy of, I believe, and it's about the Donner Party, and that one I really want to read. That's called The Hunger. The Deep was about the Titanic. Okay, But this is more like an espionage or kind of thriller, and it's Red Widow by Alma Katsu. Okay. Putnam Books. I don't know when she wrote this one. You know me, I like a good, like, a political espionage, thriller, that kind of stuff. I haven't seen too many women write these, so I thought, let me try this out. Yeah, let's see here. Red Widow. This came out in 2022. And I think the other one I'm about to show you is the second one in this series. And like I said, they were $5.99, and I couldn't resist. So Red Widow. Lindsay Duncan, cast down and restless from a required home leave, has one thing keeping her going, a second chance to prove herself at the agency. So when her former boss, now chief of the Russia division, where Lindsay was once a top handler in the Moscow field station, unexpectedly cuts her break short and recruits her to investigate a potential mole in the department after the exposure of 3 Russian assets, Lindsay finds herself entrenched once again in fickle fields. I'm slowing down because I'm like, this is a very long sentence, and someone should have broken that up. But anyway, with years of work in question and lives on the line, Lindsay is thrown back into life at the agency, this time tracing the steps of those closest to her. Meanwhile, fellow agent Teresa Warner can't avoid the spotlight. She is the infamous Red Widow, the wife of a former director mysteriously killed in the field. With her husband's legacy shadowing her every move, Teresa is a fixture of the Russia division, and her knowledge and friendship prove invaluable to Lindsay. But as Lindsay uncovers a surprising connection to Teresa that could answer all of her questions, she unearths a terrifying web of secrets within the department. If only she is willing to unravel it. So I was like, I'll check that out. And then, and this one was in hardcover. This is Red London by Alma Katsu. And it did get a blurb by Mark Rainey, the very famous, popular writer of the Gray Man novels. And he says it's reminiscent of the great Daniel Silva. Well plotted, wholly credible, and enormously tense. So let's see here. This kind of follows Lindsay. I don't want to read too much because I don't want to spoil my surprise on reading Red Widow. So it's another installment of Lindsay Duncan. So for $6, I said, sure, I'm going to try those 2 out. Okay. They are piling up. Oh, okay, so let's go back to ancient historical fiction again. So this was another one I wanted to try. Oh, my God. Oh. All right, this is a debut by two authors. It's this author's name is a pseudonym of 2 people. All right. I guess I just can't get enough of Troy. This is Horses of Fire by A.D. Rhine, which is actually 2 writers, Ashley Cowles and Danielle Stinson. Okay. Horses of Fire. Let's see here. Okay, behind the timeless tale you know is the captivating story you never heard, a sweeping epic in which Troy's strong yet misunderstood women, see, with this trend again, take center stage in the most famous war in history. Andromache is cast as the doting wife of Prince Hector, yet her Amazon warrior name means battler of men. I did not know that. That's freaking cool. She is the only one with the cunning to outwit the invading Greeks. Rhea is a war refugee and a horse whisperer who finally earns a sense of belonging in Hector's stables. To save her new home, she must become an unlikely spy and face down a forbidden love that will test all her loyalties. Helen is blamed by all for starting the Trojan War, but no one knows her real story. To escape her tormentor and foil a plot to undermine Hector, Helen must risk everything by revealing her true face to the one who despises her most. This Troy is a perilous battleground for warriors and politicians alike, not a playground for gods and goddesses. It's a harrowing novel about the everyday bravery of invisible heroes in times of war. The women of Troy are threads spinning on a single loom. Can they reweave the tapestry of fate? So, thought I'd give her a try. Horses of Fire. Okay, and now this one's another classic, and I got this in a hardcover, baby. We're talking every now and then you're going to find one of these deals on Book Outlet. This is a hardcover Everyman's Library edition with like the sewn binding and the little it's a ribbon. Yeah. This was $5.99, you guys. And look at this. Two of her novels, Mary Renault, The King Must Die, and The Bull from the Sea. I got this for $5.99. Brand new. At Book Outlet during the fiction sale. And I'm telling you, if you just type in Mary Renault and see if they still have copies of this. If you're into these histories. So yeah, we got 2 novels in here. And this is about not Alexander the Great, but she wrote something about Alexander the Great, didn't she? I thought she did. No, this is about Theseus. Anyway, let's get into it. In her inventive novels of ancient Greece, Mary Renault fashions from the myth of Theseus a convincingly flawed hero and weaves a thrillingly plausible account of the labyrinth and the Minotaur. The King Must Die follows young Theseus as he discovers that his true father is the king of Athens and volunteers to join the annual tribute of Athenian youths sacrificed to a bull-worshipping cult on the island of Crete. And I have been on the island of Crete. That is like my one claim to fame, baby. My other claim to fame? Louis L'Amour's son, Beau, wrote me a letter. A personal letter. This was when I was a kid. It was great. Okay. Trapped in the labyrinthine palace of King Minos, Theseus enlists the help of the high priestess Ariadne, and that was a really good Jennifer Saint novel, in a daring plan to free his people. Okay, so that's The King Must Die. The Bull from the Sea begins after Theseus's triumphal return to Athens. He is now king, but his confidence will be shaken by a life-changing encounter with the Queen of the Amazons, the birth of a son who will insist on choosing his own path, and the tragic results of his wife's treachery. Combining her deep understanding of the ancient Greek world with inspired speculation, Renault brings the heroes and monsters of legend enthrallingly to life. So not only was I stoked to get both of these novels, 2 in 1, but in this edition, this beautiful Everyman's Library edition, for $5.99. Telling you, still might be available if you're interested. Okay, then again, with my love of reading firsts in a series, I love reading series, and I love starting at the beginning. Now, this is, you know me, I'm a military history geek and all that kind of stuff, and I like the thrillers and the military history thrillers and all, not military history thrillers, military thrillers. I have not read this guy at all, and they had a really nice, wide, look at this, beautiful copy of The Med. This is the first in the Dan Lenson series by David Poyer. The Med. It's like a nice oversized, it's beautiful. It's not even close to being a mass market. So when I saw this was the first in the series, I picked it up. I'm like, I'll give it a try. All right, so what is The Med about? The Med is a powerful and fast-moving tale of the Navy Marine Corps team in action on a dangerous mission in the volatile Eastern Mediterranean. Cloaked by the mists of dawn, Task Force 61, carrying tanks, aircraft, and over 5,000 Marines, steams toward Syria with deadly intent. Their mission? Rescue 100 hostages from a terrorist stronghold alive. With real... God, you know what? Hang on a second. I just need to... I get dried out talking. With realism seldom seen in military fiction. The Med is a magnificent and timely epic that brings the human drama of armed conflict compellingly to life. Driven by believable flesh and blood characters, It's a painstakingly detailed portrait of amphibious warfare as only David Poyer can paint it. The Med is an explosive story of international crisis, personal valor, and emotional struggle, a disturbingly plausible novel that crackles with nonstop action. So the next paragraph gives you a little bit more detail on who David Poyer is and like what he brings to these stories. And there is our author, David Poyer. A 3-decade service career in waters around the world informs David Poyer's thrilling novels featuring naval officer Daniel V. Lenson. Backing his protagonists with a vividly drawn cast of supporting characters, Poyer puts the reader square in the middle of war at sea, anti-piracy patrols, horrific collisions, violent storms, and close action against terrorists and other enemies. Oh, check this out. His novels have been lauded by Stephen Kuntz, Clive Cussler, Thomas Fleming, Ralph Peters. Love Ralph Peters. Ralph Peters, most recently, not really recent, wrote a stellar set of Civil War novels. Kane at Gettysburg, I think was the first one. And he just continued to like four more through the end of the Civil War. And before that, we're talking way back in the day, he wrote a series of Civil War like mysteries with a Welshman, a Union Welshman officer who was tasked with solving like Torn Coat of Blue or something like that. They were fantastic. I have those books buried away somewhere, but they were great. Anyway, love Ralph Peters. Poyer was a distinguished visiting writer at the U.S. Naval Academy, where his books have been required reading. Interesting. And he received the Surface Navy Association Special Recognition Award for his fiction. Yes, his work has been required reading in the Literature of the Sea course at the U.S. Naval Academy, along with that of Joseph Conrad and Herman Melville. So he is an esteemed company. I'm just discovering him now. Interesting that they chose David Poyer to be on the list. I've got to read this. This is going to be bumped up for my bedside reading here. The Med, first in the Dan Lenson series. Now, I looked up on Amazon, how many books are in the series? Like 22. So I don't know. I'm not going to probably make it through all of those, but we'll see. I might fall in love with this. You never know. That's the joy of this big old box of books. Oh, am I actually going back to ancient history again? Am I going back to Greek mythology with this one? I think I am, you guys. You're going to be like, Peg, there's a theme. There's a theme in this fiction hall. Yes, I sure did. Okay, thank you. I should have combined it with this. Where is she? There we go. Remember this gal? Okay, so I tried one more book by her, and it's her most recent one. And this one is in hardcover. I believe this is her most recent one. Yes. Can't beat a hardcover for $5.99. So I picked up her The Shadow of Perseus novel. Looks like it was overstocked from Barnes & Noble. They still got the sticker on there. So not a huge novel. This one is about 280 pages. Daughters of Sparta. Oh, Daughters of Sparta was about 100 pages more, so almost 400 pages on this one. This one's about 300. The Shadow of Perseus. What's this one about? Again, more of these feminist reinterpretations of the classic myths. Let's see. Claire Haywood returns with a fiercely imaginative feminist take on the myth of the great hero Perseus, told through the voices of three women who are sidelined in the traditional version. Okay, so his mother, Danae, his trophy, Medusa, and his wife, Andromeda. But as these three women lead us on a deeply affecting emotional journey, the classic myth is flipped on its head when the truth, as seen through their eyes, gradually becomes clear. Perseus is no hero. Danae, banished from her homeland thanks to a dark prophecy, Danae, daughter of the king of Argos, suddenly finds herself stranded, pregnant, and alone. It's a harsh new world for a young woman who grew up as a coddled princess, and forging a new life for herself and for her young son Perseus will be the hardest thing she's ever done. Medusa. As a member of a reclusive band of women who live deep in the woods, known as the Gorgons, Medusa has eschewed all contact with the outside world. That is, until the day she finds an injured boy named Perseus in the forest. Andromeda. When a harsh sandstorm threatens to destroy her nomadic desert tribe's way of life, Andromeda knows that a sacrifice will be required to appease the gods and end the storm. But when a forceful young Perseus interferes, Andromeda's life is set on an entirely new path. As the stories of these three women intersect, they weave an alternative tale of Perseus's heroic journey, and of the three lives darkened by its violent and destructive shadow. But even as Perseus tries to silence them, the women find that reclaiming the power of their own voices may be their only hope for lifting themselves into a better future. What are you doing down there? Daisy, I am making a video. What are you doing, baby? You guys want puppy time? What? 46 minutes. You guys don't mind, right? So as far as I know, I think these are the books that she's written so far, is The Shadow of Perseus and Daughters of Sparta. So I wanted to get both of these and check those out. Where are you? I'm just going to hold you up for the camera. Come here, baby. Oh, just look at this girl. Oh, I don't have her on camera enough. And there's Boomer sleeping in his bed. Boomer's not been feeling well, guys. So say some prayers for Boomer. He's just not been into his food, and he kind of got sick a few times, and we're going to keep an eye on him. He took some food today. Knock on wood, nothing's going to come up, but he's getting older. And we love our older guys. Boomer and Goldie are our seniors, and they are old. But we love them. And Daisy here is our 3-year-old puppy. Woo! Okay, get out of here. And then Roxy is the 2-year-old. Actually, I think they're only like less than a year apart in age. Hi, Boomer. He's deaf now, and he can see, but he's deaf, and he's got no teeth. So, what are you gonna do? All right. Oh, I should have. Oh, damn it! Sorry, I hate when I do this, you guys. I actually have 3 books by Alma Katsu. So I got her kind of espionage, political intrigue, CIA thriller, whatever, the FBI, whatever that is, the agency, I guess that's CIA. This one is more in line of like the other books that she's written, as far as like the summary would indicate to me, of the hunger and the deep. This one sounds really kind of cool and maybe a little spooky. So I'm excited. So I got 3 books by Alma Katsu, and this one is The Fervor. And it does have its roots in like historical fact. The Fervor came out a few years ago, I believe. I almost volunteered to review it. I don't know what happened with those plans. 2022. Daisy doesn't want to play. He doesn't feel good. She's wagging her tail, and look at her. You wagging your tail? You want to play with Boomer? No. The Fervor. This one. Oh. Okay. Just Martine took Daisy out so they can go play out there, and Boomer can rest in here with me in the books and be quiet. Yeah, The Fervor is set during the time of the Japanese internment in America in World War II. So that was another factor that made me very interested in picking this one up. Brand new hardcover, $5.99. I'm pretty sure if you go to Book Outlet, you will find a lot of her books available right now. Let's see, 1944. As World War II rages on, the threat has come to the home front. In a remote corner of Idaho, Mako Briggs and her daughter, Aiko, are desperate to return home. Following Maiko's husband's enlistment as an Air Force pilot in the Pacific months prior, Mako and Aiko were taken from their home in Seattle and sent to one of the internment camps in the Midwest. It didn't matter that Aiko was American-born. They were Japanese, and therefore considered a threat by the American government. Mother and daughter attempt to hold on to elements of their old life in the camp when a mysterious disease begins to spread among those interned. What starts as a minor cold quickly becomes spontaneous fits of violence and aggression, even death. And when a disconcerting team of doctors arrive, nearly more threatening than the illness itself, Maiko and her daughter team up with a newspaper reporter and widowed missionary to investigate, and it becomes clear to them that something more sinister is afoot, a demon from the stories of Maiko's childhood, hell-bent on infiltrating their already strange world. Inspired by the Japanese yokai, and I think that's like the ghost, that freaky ghost in like Japanese horror, the yokai. Inspired by the Japanese yokai and the Yorogumo spider demon, this is going to be freaky. The Fervor explores the horrors of the supernatural beyond just the threat of the occult. Wow. Okay. With a keen and prescient eye, Katsu crafts a terrifying story about the danger of demonization, mysterious contagion, and the search to stop its spread before it's too late. A sharp account of too recent history, it's a deep excavation of how we decide who gets to be human when being human matters most. Indeed. And here's our authoress. This is Alma Katsu. Yep, The Deep is the one I read about the Titanic, and this is The Hunger. I have that. I need to get to it. That's the story of my life. I saw a T-shirt the other day that I really liked, and it showed like a skeleton, like with a bunch of like books in its hand, and it just said, "I buy books like I'm immortal," which is so true. It's really true. My intent is to read all of these books that I buy. If I were to stop right now and just read a book a day, well, I probably could in a few years make it through. But you can't read a whole book in a full day, and especially all my massive histories, that's not going to happen. But anyway, yeah, I like that T-shirt. Maybe I'll get it sometime. But doesn't this sound good? And, you know, I've read, Stephen King said he loved The Hunger, which was about the Donner Party. You know, I wasn't wowed by The Deep. There were some anachronisms in there that I didn't, in the characters that I didn't, it just kind of ruined it for me. But, I mean, there were some clever twists. But The Fervor sounds like this could be really good. It's about 300 pages, so hopefully she can accomplish what she needs to accomplish in 300 pages. But, yeah, I wanted to check out The Fervor, and then we'll see, you know, and then, of course, she's writing these other books that are like, you know, CIA action thrillers. It's pretty interesting. 53 minutes. It's a good thing this is we are empty. This is the final book. Oh, and this was the one nonfiction book. All right, well, I'm giving you a bargain. For anyone who has stuck around, who is more of a nonfiction history person, I've got a bonus for you. This is not fiction. But, wait a minute, maybe it is fiction. What the hell? Okay, hang on a second, guys. I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, this guy. I didn't realize this is the guy. Oh, no, this is nonfiction. Okay. All right, I'm throwing this in just because we're at the end of this video. This is Never Forget Our People Were Always Free, A Parable of American Healing by Ben Jealous. It's from Amistad Public, very slim volume, but it sounded like a hopeful read. I feel like maybe I should not include this now. Well, shoot, I'll just continue. In Never Forget Our People Were Always Free, former national NAACP President Ben Jealous reflects on the origin of race, the insanity that is racism, and why, like Frederick Douglass 150 years ago, he's optimistic America is destined to become the most perfect example of the unity and dignity of the human family the world has ever seen. A master storyteller, Jealous introduces us to a Klansman tortured by Jesus, a Confederate general turned champion for equality, and a group of enslaved Africans and indentured Europeans whose early American rebellion holds the secret to building a stronger, more prosperous nation for all our children. In researching Never Forget, Jealous discovered, he discovered he's a cousin of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. How do you just discover that? Wow. That fact challenged him like none other, I would assume. It also confirmed his core conviction. The day we accept we are one American family is the day our nation's great destiny will finally be realized. Amen, brother. I agree wholeheartedly. An organizer who worked with Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Secretary Jack Kemp, Jealous was trained by proteges of both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Thurgood Marshall. All right, so it sounds kind of interesting. So, I mean, and I think this one was on the discount aisle, so it was also marked down. So, yeah, not a fiction, but it was at the bottom of the box. I thought, let me just throw this in there. Okay, so guys, that was my mega fiction haul with a lot of, you can see the strains. Well, this was another book that we've got, lots of ancient history with the feminist reinterpretations and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, 56 minutes. Wow, I delivered another banger for you guys today. For those of you guys that love long videos, I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, I have a smaller box downstairs because I did a second order when they were having this, and I probably you might as well too, because they keep adding books almost every day. But right now I've got my eye on a couple of Clive Barkers. Should I tell you what I'm looking at, guys? I know a lot of you guys like to know what's in my cart. All right, let's do this. And the book outlet site was moving really sluggish today. And I think it's because once they made this announcement, everyone's on their website right now. Clive Barker's The Great and Secret Show. It's like a 700-page book, $5.99. The sequel to that is Everville, $5.99. I've got a Simon Scarrow in here. I've got a Joyce Carol Oates hardcover, Breathe, which I think it's her fictionalized account of probably, it's about an academic couple in Arizona, and then the husband is slowly dying. And if you know a lot about Joyce Carol Oates, you know that she had a very long, happy marriage, and then her spouse died. How long ago was it now? Maybe 10 years ago. I think this is the Breathe is her story, but it's fictionalized. But I kind of want to read it to see. She has some powerful, emotional stuff going on in her novels that I just wanted to check out. I got Dana Stabenow, A Cold Day for Murder. Kate Shugak, Investigation, Book 1. Also looking into a Graham Hurley book. I love these Head of Zeus books. Head of Zeus is the imprint of... here's the publisher of the Dana Stabenow. But the UK, Graham Hurley is a UK writer, and it's part of his Spoils of War series on World War II novel. They're all standalones, which are fantastic. Dead Ground is his most recent one, which I have on PDF. It was an ARC, but I want to have the finished copy, baby. $5.99. So yeah, I'm kind of looking at that. I'm looking at a very unknown book called The Sky Unwashed by Irene Zaptko about people who were moved out of Chernobyl, and then this woman who comes back and tries to reestablish her life there with her family. So just some different stuff that I'm kind of keeping my eye on. Yeah, I love when I get that announcement saying $5.99 sale. The only thing better than that, guys, is when they'll never say a $5.99 nonfiction sale. They'll usually say 15% off or something like that. But anyway, oh my gosh, 59 minutes. Got to get this in under the hour. Let me know what you thought of these books. Let me know if you checked out Book Outlet and if you were going to sign on to the $5.99 fiction sale. It's fantastic. All right, guys, until next time, hope to see you back here soon at the History Shelf. So take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.